After sending 2 million emails across almost 100 niches, cold email deliverability or email deliverability is still one of the most complex and confusing subjects to understand. If you don't get this right, nothing else really matters because your emails aren't landing in their primary inbox. And so like you can write the best copy in the world, if they don't see it, it just doesn't really matter. But what I've found is there's just so much info out there and everyone disagrees on lots of things, and that just makes the whole thing more confusing. So in this video, I'm going to break it down in simple terms, what cold email or email deliverability actually is, how to consistently land in the primary inbox, and what to care about and what you can disregard. As a bit of social proof, here are a bunch of B2B companies that we have helped recently. I think my chat with Keegan, which is somewhere here, is really good. If you want to see if we actually generate leads, here's around 1,000 leads that we've generated in the last 2 months or so. As a high-level overview, email deliverability is a term used when talking about if you are sending an email and it lands in the recipient's primary inbox. So there's promotions, there's junk, sometimes it doesn't even get delivered. So good email deliverability means it's landing in the primary inbox. Email deliverability issues is your email is going to spam, promotions, or not even sending. And what needs to be understood is this is a spectrum. It's not binary, and it will never be binary because I can email a bank right now off my main work email, and depending on the email security on the bank's email, it's not going to go into their primary because they're super scared of scams, right? So I'm not part of their email network. They've never received an email from me before. It's not going to get through. Whereas I could have a Gmail account that I set up for free with no security, and I could email my mate's Gmail account, and I probably will go through to their primary, right? Because there's way lower email security. So there's things that you can do on your end, there's what you send in the email, and there's things that happen on their end, which help to build up a spectrum of email deliverability. And we just want to set as much of the infrastructure up as possible to give us the best chance possible. It's not a binary yes or no. You want to just set it up so you get the best chance possible, and then don't stress about it too much. And I'm going to show you how to do that. If you're trying to drum up business through emailing potential prospects, then you need to make sure your email is going to the primary inbox, right? If you're using cold email as a means to generate business, your cold emails have to, for the most part, be going to the primary. Pretty simple. No one has a complete picture about email deliverability, and this is why it's super confusing. And there's 2 very logical reasons why no one fully understands what's going on. Google and Microsoft are not explicit about what is going on. That is the number one reason. They give you guidelines, they're not explicit, all right? And this is because they're playing a constant game of cat and mouse with spammers and scammers, right? If you're a spammer or a scammer, you shouldn't be watching this video. They're concerned about people scamming people out of money or pretending to be people from their company and getting sensitive information, or putting malware onto computers and shutting down. That's what they're concerned about. They're not concerned about you emailing someone and saying, hey, we can get you more lawn mowing jobs. No, right? But there is some crossover, right? And so they're not going to be clear about the rules. And so you kind of have to figure out what the rules are. And they don't want to reveal with their hand, which means that this is largely a guessing game. But there's lots of data which backs up the guesses, which I suppose is science to an extent. So we understand a lot of this picture, but we don't understand the full picture, and that's why people disagree, right, about things. Also, the rules changed all the time, right? So an email deliverability video from a few years ago will almost be definitely outdated. And the rules change all the time because this cat and mouse game is going on. And so we needed to adjust to this cat and mouse game of Google and Microsoft, essentially the main players, and scammers and spammers trying to. Now, the scammers are using AI, and so Google and Microsoft uses AI to filter out. So there's this big game going on in the background, and we kind of need to understand the main rules of the game. We don't need to understand all the rules, we just need to understand the main rules of the game, so that on the spectrum of email deliverability, where for the most part, our email is being delivered, okay? That's what's going on. When sending cold emails, right, when you're doing cold email outbound, you already tick one of the big boxes of being lumped in with the spammers and scammers, which is you're sending an email to an email address where there's no sending and receiving history, right? Like, often if you're emailing someone and you've emailed them a lot in the past, your email's going to just keep going to the primary because you know each other. Okay. When you're doing cold email, you're emailing somebody that there is no history, and hence you're already starting on the back foot. And that's when you set the game up to be very favorable to you on all the other things that you can control. So let's dive into some of the factors that impact email deliverability. You need to have an understanding of the different variables so you can diagnose issues easily, and you can also understand the jargon that people use in the space. These are some of the key variables that we look at when determining if your email will land in the primary inbox. And I'm just going to explain this very simply. You've got your email account, domain, reputation, etc. Right? So you've got your setup, that's part of it. Then you've got the email. So what is in the email? Are you saying free iPhone 10, click here to get your $10,000? Is that what you're saying in the email? Or you're saying, hey, are you guys looking for any interns? ? The email itself is going to impact the email deliverability. Okay. And then you've got the recipient, right? The person you're emailing. As I was saying, if they are a bank, it's going to be a lot harder to get through to them than somebody else. If the email doesn't actually exist, then that's a problem. So there's issues that are going to be on the leads that you've generated, essentially. There's issues that can arise with the email that you're sending them, and there's issues that can arise on your account setup. Okay. And to be fair, the majority of these are relatively simple to solve. So it might seem complex right now. As I get through this, it's going to be like, there's just seriously a tick box of things that you can just be like, okay, we've got them all good here. Don't need to stress about it too much. So the sender reputation, when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about your account, essentially, on your side. How new is the domain? Right? You can probably see people are selling like aged domains at the moment. And that's because if you're spamming people, you spin up new domains all the time, and you can spin them up and people start sending like immediately, which is a problem. So new domains have no sender reputation and are hence considered risky because there's no background on if this domain's a good actor or a bad actor. So Google and Microsoft just immediately consider them risky. You don't really want to send for a new domain, and you typically want to warm for 2 weeks. So there's 2 factors that go into email warming, and I'll explain what email warming is in here essentially. So email warming, the process of email warming is you put your email account into a warming pool. Let's say a pool of 2 million other email accounts. And if I go email 1, actually account 1. So your email is going to email other emails. And there's just for argument's sake, there's going to be millions in here, right? And they're going to all email each other. Cool. We're all emailing each other. We're going around and emailing each other. And the emails are trying to mimic human behavior. They're going to open the messages. If they go to spam, they're going to automatically move them out of spam to the primary. They're going to reply to, let's say, like 30% of emails. So what that starts to do is build up the sender reputation. Okay. So new domains with no sender reputation, warming helps to build up that sender reputation. Also, you're warming it for 2 weeks, which part of the reason why it's effective is because now the domains are just 2 weeks older, right? Like if you had 3 scenarios, one scenario, you just started emailing straight away. One scenario, you didn't warm, but you waited 2 weeks to start emailing. And one scenario where you warmed and you waited 2 weeks to start sending. Then typically this one's going to be performing the best, the one where you did the warming and aging. But the aging itself, just waiting 2 weeks, has an impact, okay? So warming, this is what warming is essentially. There's people that disagree with this. From our experience, we just use the big warming pools, Smart Lead and Instantly. We tried warming It was a good experience, except the results are pretty much the same as us using the smart lead warming tool, and it cost significantly more. So test your own things here. I would say don't overthink it. Just if you're using it instantly, just use the instantly warming function. If you're using smart lead, just use the smart lead warming function. If you're on neither of those platforms, find another company that does warming for you. Yeah. Google and Microsoft are aware that smart lead and instantly exist and are doing warming. Okay. How often do your emails get marked as spam? Okay. So again, we're going back to the reputation of your email account domain. If someone marks your email as spam, that's seen as like a red mark against your domain email account reputation. So how often your emails get marked as spam is one of the main factors that Google and Microsoft look at it when determining spam, right? And this makes sense. There's no super clear guideline on what spam is. You ask your mum what spam is, and you ask somebody else in the marketing space what spam is. There's going to be a gray area in between. What clearly is spam is what lots of people mark as spam. So they rank this pretty highly in this determination of if your account is spam or not, or sending spam. So this is often one of the main reasons why accounts will burn over a long enough period of time, because enough people will mark the email as spam, because lots of people in the world do not like receiving emails from people they don't know, and that's what they consider spam, any unsolicited email. And so that's the game you're playing, right? DKIM demarking their settings, less of an issue. So this is where people get like really hung up when they first start doing cold email. Like, what are the settings on the setting up the email accounts? Majority of the time now, you're just going to be buying from a reseller, or you can be buying through some provider. They will set the settings up for you, or they'll just tell you exactly what settings to set up. But 99% of the time, they're just going to be setting this up for you. So essentially, this is just the background settings on the email accounts that tell providers, Google and Microsoft, that the emails are legit and they're coming from where they say they're coming from. It's just verification background checks, okay? And so you just make sure they're set up correctly. Don't dive down the deep, dark rabbit hole of figuring out how to do this perfectly. Just ask the person who bought the inboxes off if they're done correctly, and they will do them for you, okay? Sending volume. So a common definition of spam is unsolicited bulk email, okay? The less bulk, the less likely it is to be marked as spam, and just the less is better. Like, you've got two inboxes, one sending 100 emails a day, one sending one email a day. One is going to outperform 100. But if you want to send 100 emails a day, buying 100 email accounts, sending one email a day is just not viable. It's way too expensive. So we're trying to find some place in the middle where we're sending a low enough volume that we're consistently getting to the primary, but a high enough volume they're not spending $1 gazillion a month on email accounts. So again, everyone's got their own ideas. We aim for 7 to 10 net new leads a day on G Suite inboxes. We send, just to make this clear, we send a 2-step sequence typically, meaning that each inbox will be sending 14 to 20 a day, because this is net new leads, and each new lead gets 2 emails. Okay. We also use Hypertide, and which recommends 2 emails per inbox, but it's a different setup. Again, I'm not asking Hypertide and going to somewhere like Hypertide and then setting up the DKIM demark and DNS. They're setting it up. Okay. Same with if you just, let's say you're on Smart Lead and you go to Smart Senders and just buy, and you purchase mailboxes. Oh, cool. They've got free admin Google for 2 days. If you purchase these, right, it's just for the first month, they're going to have all these settings set up for you. Okay. They're probably even going to limit how many emails you can send a day, right? So that you don't burn the accounts. Yeah. How many positive signals do your emails get? So there's negative signals, marketing and spam. There's also positive signals, replying to emails positively, right? Again, all of this adds to your domain reputation and your inbox reputation, and telling Microsoft and Google that you're a good actor, right? And the positive signals go a long way. Like, if you have a campaign which performs well, it will when I say performs well, people want to receive the email. The people that you're emailing want to receive the email. It will negate a lot of this. You can send way more sending volume. A few emails can get marked as spam. You can send from a relatively new domain. This stuff can get overshadowed by getting lots of positive signals, okay? And I'll talk about this a bit later. What is a blacklist? So there are third parties out there. I'm sure Microsoft and Google have their own internal ones, but there are third parties out there which essentially will find bad actors in the space and put them on a blacklist, and then Google and Microsoft can use the information from these third parties to decide if you're spam or not spam. So they typically keep the space clean. You can run a test on here, which again, I honestly haven't done this in a long time, because I'll explain how we check if we've got issues. If I go carrotsonsticks.com, let's just hope that our primary domain doesn't have any issues. So I tested it against 17 known blacklists, and these are known blacklists, and you might like recognize some, maybe like Barracuda or something like this. Spam House. These are like well-known ones. We're not on any blacklists, and we shouldn't be. We're not doing any cold email from this domain. Okay, so you can check that. When people talk about blacklists, that is what they're talking about. Honestly, not as much of a thing. When you first get in this space, you think about blacklists and DKIM settings and stuff, and it's like a thing that people talk about. You're in the space for a while, you realize it's like not actually that much of a thing. Okay, now I'm going to talk about the next little bit, which is email copy. Like, what can you put in the email? The angle or the offer, this is probably the single most important thing. Do people care about what you're emailing them about? If they do, they're more likely to respond positively. If they respond positively, this will give positive signals to Google and Microsoft. Links, just be real. People often scam you by sending you links, and hence links are risky, especially in that first email. Why? Because you've had no email with them in the past. So avoid sending links in the first email, and this includes your email signature. Like, don't have a link to like your YouTube channel in your email signature in your first email. You're just far more likely to go to spam. That's all I need to say. Email variation. Sending the same email over and over again is not very human. Most humans don't send the same email over and over again. So you want to use variation in emails, and this can be done in a few ways. Variables. So this is going to be like a first name, right? There's going to be a variable, but also you can do like city or company name, or you can have longer variables, right? And you can have AI-based variables in here as well, where you might, lots of people at the moment are doing like a AI compliment, where they'll ask, essentially, typically it'll be ChatGPT or Claude or something, go to this domain, write a compliment about XYZ, and then they're going to use that as a variable and put it in the copy. Personally, I don't think it helps the copy as such, but it does help there be more email, the variation in the email, okay? Spin tags, essentially what this means is that it's, and you can set it up multiple ways, it's either going to cycle through what's on this and then what's on this and keep going back and forth. So for example, if you said like, hey, hello, sup, you're also really using some Kiwi jargon here, and then you went first name. Also, I'm currently using writing and how Smartlead tends to write the variations. Actually, I'm not 100% sure. Maybe it is only one. It's going to say, hey, first name in the first email. The first prospect's going to get a hey first name. The second one is going to get a hello first name. The third prospect's going to get a sub first name. The last prospect's going to get a Yolza first name. Okay. Just so you know what that is. And then copy variations. So when you are, let's say, I'm just going to pick a random campaign. So you can have different variations of copy, right? And if you have multiple variations on, then it's going to send multiple variations, which provides the biggest thing of variation. So just for some context, this is spin taxing, hey, hello, happy day of the week, good time of day. So happy Monday, good morning, howdy, first name. So there's variation in there. There's also it's going to cycle, or each lead's going to get a different competitor. This is found through AI, so that provides variation. And then we have like an email signature, which is varied through Spintax. So again, if you look at like a final review and I go scheduled, you can see they get this, then this person gets a different one, and this person, yeah, they'll get the same one for some reason. They get a different one. Okay, so it adds more variation to what you're doing. We saw the idea of Nick Abraham, just so you know, shout out to Nick. Email length. I think Outlook in particular seems to prefer shorter emails. I've heard in the space that this is just because it gives the filter less context to decide if it's unsolicited bulk email. So just the less context you give it, it's not going to be able to filter out the spam because you haven't given enough context to be sure about what the email is about. I don't over-index on this too much, honestly, but some people do. Again, don't think it's massive. Spammy words. You have one free iPhone, click here. Not ideal. So just stay away from like exclamation marks or just using capital letters, this sort of thing. Why? Because filters don't like it, and it's way more likely to be marked as spam because it just looks like spam. So just don't do that. So yeah, those are the main email copy things to look at. Now let's talk about the receiver email account and security. So again, we've talked about your email account, talk about the email itself, and now we're going to talk about the recipient, person receiving the email. So make sure it's a valid email address. High bounce rates will cause deliverability issues because people typically email people they know, and so they typically get the email correct. So make sure you're paying to validate your emails. We do it twice, just so you know, like, because you'll find that like the first software might say it's valid, and then you run it through again, and now like 10% of them are actually not valid, and you don't want to be having like a 10% bounce rate. Okay, so the prospect's email security, this definitely plays a role. We don't over-index on this too much, but we do put on domain level rate limiting, which essentially just means that, let's say you happen to scrape an email list and there happens to be 10 people from the same bank on that email list. You don't want to email all 10 of them at the same day. That's going to cause issues. You want that to be limited or rate limited, so it's spread out. But again, I don't over-index on this too much, but it will affect if your email is delivered, like 100%. The more corporate email security, white collar the company is, the more likely they are to have high email security because people are trying to scam them via email, and hence it's less likely that you're going to land in their primary. And then I'm just going to say that if you're emailing Google or Microsoft or Yahoo or Hotmail, whatever, this goes in waves. Sometimes Google to Google is better. Sometimes Microsoft to Microsoft is better. Again, don't over-index on this, in my opinion. It's if you're sending mass volume and you can play with these things, then by all means play with those things. But if you're sending like millions of emails a month, you're probably not watching this video. If you're not, don't worry about it. There's my advice. Just don't worry about it. So what is my recommended setup to maximize email account lifespan? I will just give you a quick overview. So what is happening here is just get the basics right, which most people do. Like, honestly, for the most part, you're going to go and you're going to buy some domains, and you can just buy them through a provider. Like if you went to like Zapmail, who's a reseller, you can just buy it through here. They will attach it to a Smart Leader instantly account. Right? You're going to buy domains. They're going to be email accounts, and buy them through a provider. Don't go and try and set up your own email accounts. It's just going to be an absolute pain. You're going to connect them to like instantly Smart Lead. Just so you know, instantly is this Smart Lead. This is Smart Lead, which is what we use. Both are good, both are great. Yep. So this is going to do your warm for 2 weeks. Right. This is where you will be uploading lists. Right. You're going to upload lead lists. Make sure you upload good lead lists. I've got a full video on how we create lead lists. There might be a link somewhere around here. Uploading lead lists, right? Upload them you add your email accounts, you warm for 2 weeks, you send good emails with the recommended. There it is. There's the whole thing. Okay. It's very simple. All right. That is all you need to do. Okay. Buy accounts through a trusted provider and get them to do the technical setup. There are different account providers. You've got SMTP providers. They are building their own infra. Well, yeah, we can call it infra in here. I just don't want to get people confused. So these are going to be like what we use, which is Hypertide. You could use like Scaled Mail, something like this. Scaled Mail, there's a similar one. You could use like Mail Reef. Okay, so these are essentially building their own networks, either typically on top of Microsoft. Okay, so that's one option. Another option is to use resellers, which are reselling Google and Microsoft inboxes. And I would say, so I'm just going to put them in here. Mail Reef. What was the other one? Scaled. Yeah. Then you can go resellers. And again, you're going to pay them money. They're going to attach it to your Smart Lead Instant account, get it all warming, set everything up, make sure everything's set up for you. And it's going to be cheaper than if you went and bought it yourself. So you're just going to do this anyway. So we're going to go Inbox Kit. Premium inboxes, Zapmail. Cool. These are resellers. And you can go and explore these and talk to them. I recommend try and talk to the owners of these companies if you can. Start build a relationship. Get their trust. Make sure you trust them. All right. Figure out how many accounts you need to send out the volume. Right. If, for example, let's go Hypertide. And they'll have their pricing on here somewhere. Let's say you want to, $60 to send out 200 emails a day. So you want, I want to send out 2,000 emails a day, right? Then it's going to cost you $600 a month. Cool. You figure out the volume you need. You're going to buy the accounts and you're going to warm them for a minimum of 2 weeks. Cool, end of discussion. Lower sending volume is better, but just use the sending volume that your account provider recommends and don't send links in the first email. Okay, that is my recommended setup. And I recommend a simple setup because I think it's far more important to scrape a really good list and write copy that they care about. And then just do the basics. Just do the basics and you'll be completely fine. Okay, so how do you tell if your email accounts are burnt? And by burnt, it means that they're going to start constantly going to spam. And this is a super common question in the space, and it's super common because it's not 100% clear. And it's not 100% clear because typically Google and Microsoft don't go like, hey, you've burnt this account. Right? You just have to figure it out. Okay, so how do you figure it out? There are a few different ways to do it. So you can look at the reply rate, which is how we do it. Right? So if the reply rate drops below 1%, or they're significantly lower than they were 2 weeks ago, then we're going to move to the next stage, which is we do a placement test. So you run a placement test, and honestly, we just actually ask our providers. We say like, hey, we're seeing issues with these accounts. Can you check if there's any issues with them? And they'll run a placement test and be like, yep, this one's got an issue, this one's fine, this one doesn't have an issue. Makes life super simple. If you're paying people for all these email accounts, part of their job is also to help you identify and swap them out. So use that. Run a placement test, which sends the test to a bunch of email inboxes and reports back which ones are spam and which ones go to the primary. So what a placement test is, again, it's not a perfect science, but you've got your email account. They might email 60 inboxes, let's say 20 Google ones, 20 G Suite ones, some Outlook ones, some Office 365 ones, and then they report back if you landed in the primary or the spam. Okay, that's essentially what a placement test is. It's a bit of pain to automate and do it at scale, which is why we do this first, and then we do this. You can also run the domain through that blacklist test that I showed you earlier. We don't do this, but again, if we ask our provider if there's anything wrong with the inboxes, then they will do that and let us know. Okay. Again, this is what we do. So we look at our campaigns each week. If the reply rate is less than 1% or it's dropped more than 2.5% is the number we look at in the past week, then we do a placement test and blacklist. And we do this by asking, it's a Zap mail or asking Hypertide, like, hey, is there an issue with this? From there, we make a call if we want to cycle them out or keep them. Often it drops, you do a test, right? It's dropped 2.5%, you do a test, there's no issues, you just leave it running, and then the responses start to come back. So I don't 100% know that's why this is. I assume sometimes you get to like a bad part in the lead list and it's just like less responsive, or it's a bad week in cold email because something's happened in the universe, right? Don't stress about this too much. Okay. What to do if your email accounts do get burnt? So if you've identified there's an issue, there's two options. You can either turn off sending, keep on warming, and that can revive the account, and this can often take 2 to 6 weeks. However, sometimes they never come back, which is why most people, the most common practice is just to buy new accounts and warn them for another 2 weeks and swap them out. Often a good practice is to have backup accounts if you can afford them. Some people have 1-to-1, which is very impressive if you do that, meaning you've got 100 email accounts live, you've got 100 warming, and then you can swap them out at any time. That's obviously a best case scenario. We've got some backup accounts closer to the 2-to-1, right? So we've got 100 live, we've got 50 in backup, okay? This has the added bonus of aging accounts even further because you've got them in backup, right? And so the primary ones might take 2 months to burn, 3 months to burn, 6 months to burn, and now you've got backup accounts which are aged even further, which are going to perform even better because they're older, okay? Just some holistic understanding for the game that we're playing. You want it to read human, feel human, and follow human practices, right? If the prospect wants to receive the email, then you'll have very little deliverability problems. This is the main thing. Think about it this way. When you're on Facebook, they don't want people to experience real shitty ads, right? So they don't allow you to make shitty ads, right? When you're using Google and Microsoft, people don't want to receive shitty emails. So Google and Microsoft block you from sending shitty emails. Just don't send shitty emails. That's like the main game. You want to set up the rest so that you can mitigate it as a variable in cold email and focus on what matters, sending the right message to the right people. Okay. Those are the holistic understandings. You want it to feel human. You want people to want to receive your email, and just get the basics right. And the basics, like this is the basics. It's not super complex. Okay. Just get the basics right. If you want your cold email to be managed by someone else, aka me and my team, then there is a link below this video where you can book in a call with somebody in the team and we can see if what we do is kind of a good fit for you and your business. If you'd rather learn the process first yourself, then there should be a full 90-minute video on screen now. I'll see you there. Peace.